Hello. Today we're going to cover section 6.2, which is factoring trinomials. We start off fairly basic, we're going to build up in difficulty. Now remember that we have this factoring guide, you have this version, and you also have this version in your notes in my math lab. And in the comments for section 6.1, you'll find these as well. This one is specific to Math 320 introductory algebra. This one also works for intermediate algebra. I'm going to be sticking with this one for right now. Okay. Our first step in any factoring is to factor out the GCF if you have one. Okay. Then look at what you have left and ask yourself if it's going to factor further. Our directions are always to factor completely. Okay. So what we're going to be doing today is we are going to be heading towards, see here we're asked if we have 4 terms, here we have 2 terms, do you have 3 terms? This is the direction we're going right here. We're going to learn how to deal with these, okay? So what we're going to do now is just sort of step up into it, okay? This is a trinomial all the way multiplied out, and they want us to rewrite it as a product. Remember, when we have something completely factored, it means that if we were to plug in a number for our variable and then follow order of operations, the very last thing we would do is multiplication. Okay. Now, to get a trinomial, generally what we're going to be doing is we're going to be factoring. It's basically reverse FOIL. So this times something, this times something, and then we come back with the 7 and do the same thing. And we're supposed to end up with this at the end of it. Well, eventually we're going to have to come up with this part as well. But what we're going to do is we're going to make a good guess and then we're going to check it. Most of the time, your square term comes from multiplying your first numbers together. So my guess, since this is an r and I want an r squared, my guess is going to be that that's an r. Okay. Now we need a 56 on the end. This generally comes from this times this. Okay. So 7 times what gives you 56? 7 times 8. Okay. And it needs to be a positive 56. This is positive, so positive 7 times positive 8. So let's do the check and see if this worked out, because we have not looked at the 15r. Let's multiply. R times r is r squared. R times 8 would be positive 8r. Now do the 7. 7 times r, I'm going to line up my like terms here. And then 7 times 8 would be 56. Add these together, r squared, which we wanted. 8 plus 7 is positive 15r, which is also what we wanted. And then we have the plus 56. So this was the correct answer. Now we're going to keep doing this. Okay, we're going to make a decent guess, and then we're going to check. All right, so I would need t times something, hopefully to give me a t squared. So I'm going to guess that this is a t. I might be wrong. This is just an educated guess. That's why we do the check. All right, now I have a positive 6. I need to multiply it by something to get a negative 42. Well, if this is positive and I end up with a negative and I'm multiplying, that means this is a minus sign for sure. 6 times 7 gives me 42. So my guess is t minus 7. Okay, let's do the first multiply through. T times t is t squared. T times negative 7 minus 7t. Now let's come back and distribute the 6. 6 times t, positive 6t. 6 times negative 7 is minus 42. So this gives me t squared. Negative 7 plus 6 is negative 1, so minus t, which is also what we wanted here, minus 42. Okay, one more. Look at your firsts again. I have y needs to become y squared, so I'm going to guess that I put a y here. Okay. Negative 24, positive 4, times something gives me that. It has to be a negative. 4 times 6 gives me 24, so I'm guessing that it's y minus 6. Now let's check. Y times y would be y squared. I'm distributing. Y times negative 6, negative 6y. Now let's come back and do the 4. 4 times y is plus 4y. 4 times negative 6 is negative 24. Basically, every time we're doing this check, we are checking the middle term. Negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2y. That is what I wanted, minus 24. Okay. So what we've done by doing this, and they've provided the first part for us, we're going to have to end up doing this ourselves. But we have taken something that is overall an addition problem, because if I followed order of operations and plugged in a number, I would square this, I would do this multiplication, and then my last step would be to add them all together. So this is overall an addition problem. Whereas here, if I were to plug in numbers, the first thing I would do is this addition, and then this addition, and then I would take those answers and multiply them. The last thing I do is a multiplication.